Hi, my name is Lan Deng. I'm sorry, we forgot to put a slide here. But so I am the Associate Director for the Lieberthal-Rogel Center for Chinese Studies. And I'm also Associate Professor of Urban and Regional Planning in the Topman College of Architecture and Urban Planning. So we are very glad to have this webinar today to hear from our students, our Chinese studies students on how this COVID-19 has affected them, the pandemic has affected them, and how they have responded to that. So I think together with our center's director, Professor Twila Twardif, so we will be moderating this conversation among our students. This is mostly an informal conversation among our students about what they did in the summer, and also in response to how the impacts on both their academic and their personal life. But before we do that, let me pass this to Professor Twila Twardif, and she wants to share a couple of thoughts with us.
Good morning, everyone. Good evening and afternoon, depending on where you are. I wanted to say thank you for joining us. And this is an interesting time for all of us. And I wanted to just kind of back up a minute and think about where we all were 6 months ago when things began. I know that I was planning to be in China for a couple of different events this summer. I'm sure some of you were as well. And one of the things that was very clear when we were talking amongst the faculty and the directors of the MIRS program was that our students, both our master's students and our PhD students, would not be able to go and do field work or archive work the way they normally would. And in fact, many were also planning to do different kinds of internships. And so we are very grateful that the International Institute, as well as the Center for Chinese Studies and other places came together and allowed our students to change their projects and to do things either remotely that were similar to what they were originally planning on doing, or to change their project completely and really look at what's going on now from a Chinese studies perspective. So one of the very obvious things is COVID. And because COVID first became an epidemic and was realized when it hit China, it made a lot of sense to really think about what's going on with COVID in China, as well as with US-China relations and relations with the rest of the world. So many of our students actually ended up changing their summer internships to focus on things related to COVID and as you'll hear from Guanxia, to a combination of COVID and China as well. So I hope that everybody has had a good summer and a productive summer to the extent that is possible, and that you've been able to do the types of things that you're going to be hearing about, and that this inspires you to also be thinking about how to move forward in a way that allows you to gain a deeper understanding of Chinese studies. So I'll pass it back to Lan, who will, I believe, introduce the speakers.
Thank you, Twila. So we have a great group of panelists. So we have 4 students and who will be speaking at this webinar. And I will just provide some brief information about their background. So the first we have Sabrina Lee, and Sabrina is an undergrad student. I think it's a rising junior student at the University of Michigan, major in business economics. Sabrina, could you raise your hand so that say hi so that everybody can see you? Yes, Sabrina did an internship remotely through LRCCS at the China Michigan Innovation Center this summer. So we will be hear from her about her experience in the internship. And so next, we have Fu Shen Luo. Fu Shen is a PhD candidate in history. Fu Shen, could you raise your hand so that everybody can see? Okay, yeah. Fu Shen, he's interested in the social, culture, and legal history of China, and with a particular focus on colonialism and social and legal history. And Fuxing also received the LRCCS dissertation writing fellowship this year, and which has supported his dissertation writing, the writing project, So the next we have Yuri Park. Yuri, hi Yuri, Yuri is a PhD candidate in anthropology, and Yuri also received some LRCCS funding for research, and her research is in the area of aging, elder care, chronic diseases in China, which, as you can see, that is very relevant today. Last but not least, so we have Wenjia Song. Wenjia, could you raise your hand? Yeah. Wenjia is a second-year MERS student. So the MERS is a Master of International and Regional Studies, specializing in Chinese studies. So Wenjia is interested in the socio-linguistic conditions in China and the people's identity construction through language use under globalization. So with that, so I want to first start the conversation by asking the first question from our panelists. So that I wonder whether each of you could share that how this pandemic has affected you both personally and academically. And I know that for students, especially for students specializing in Chinese studies, the pandemic and the travel restrictions have probably affected each of you profoundly. So does anyone want to start the conversation?
Can I start?
Oh, sure.
Okay,
yeah,
go ahead.
Go ahead.
Sorry, I can start.
No, go ahead, Yuri.
Yeah, thank you. So, as you may know, I am an anthropologist. I'm studying anthropology, and as a cultural anthropologist, I have to go to the field and have to study. I have to see people and have to meet people in the field, I mean, in China. But as you may know, because of the COVID situation, I'm not allowed to go to China this fall. So because I did my prelim this summer, so I was supposed to do my field work this fall, but situation is so uncertain. So I had to postpone my fieldwork situation until at least next year, but still situation is quite uncertain, so I'm not sure when exactly I can start my fieldwork. And also, but this situation is so uncertain, it's made me worried a lot, but it also gives me opportunity to think about my current research themes and research topic again. So because Chinese elder care system is really connected to current situation, right? Because elderly people they're very vulnerable to current COVID virus. So probably I might change a little bit of my research topic to connect to current situation and how they deal with this pandemic situation too. So this current situation changed my research topic and also changed my research plan as well.
Thank you, Yuri. Oh, I forgot to mention that while our students are speaking, if our audience, if you have any questions or comments, please type them in the Q&A session. So we will be monitoring those. Okay. I think next we can go to Wenjia.
Hi, everyone. So I'm Guanxia, and I think this pandemic actually influenced me a lot. So, so in the first place, when I started to thinking about my summer plan, I was thinking that I would take a Japanese language course at Michigan, and I would also do some field work back in China, because I got to work with a couple of stakeholders of certain issues, and also I would like to just continue doing some interviews. But and I also have a conference, a social linguistic conference to attend, which is held in Prague, Czech Republic. But unfortunately, just I cannot do go to Europe anymore. And also, the Japanese course is canceled. I don't know why, but probably it's because that they just feel like students may not want to take language course, especially intensive language course online. So I think that's why they are canceling that original arrangement. So in this situation, I'm starting like it's kind of it's a kind of interesting opportunity that I started from working as a language translator for a interdisciplinary project, the research project, which you can see that was posted on the website, the official website on International Institute, which is titled COVID Study. And I'm working with Twila because in the first place, she asked me if I can do some translation work for her. And I said yes. And later I realized it's a huge project. It's so fascinating. And I've actually dedicated like most of my summertime into that project, and we've got really interesting findings. And I'm also, since I'm no longer able to take the language course, I'm substituting that with a couple of methodology class, since I'm interested in doing more political science things. So I studied to take learn more about like quantitative methods and also computational methods. So I would say like for me, things have changed a lot, but it seems that in the end, I've also learned a lot in the whole summer.
Yeah. Thank you, Guanxia. So I think, yeah, for PhD student, I think the dissertation research is very important. And I think Yuri mentioned about that she is considering about changing their maybe her dissertation topic. But I think Fuxin, your dissertation is ongoing, right? So you have probably done most of the field. So how has this pandemic has affected you?
Yeah, so luckily in the academic year of 2018 to 2019, I spent a year in China and UK collecting primary sources for my dissertation. So when I was doing the archival research, my advisor told me that things available then may not be available again because of the different rules in archives in China. So then I was like a little bit hesitated, but I followed his advice anyway. And then I basically utilized all my time to collect as much as I could at the time. So when I came back in the fall of 2019, I basically have like most of what I wanted for my dissertation. So right now I'm like, I have 2 chapters done. I'm working on the 3rd chapter. I feel like I need more sources, especially for the 4th chapter. So in the winter semester, like the winter of 2020, before the pandemic, my plan was to collect more sources in Shanghai for chapter 4. But obviously that couldn't happen because of the pandemic. And then, so there's basically no international flight between China and the US. With the few left, the prices are so high, and then it doesn't really worth it to travel back, right? And secondly, the university has this travel restriction, which basically under that, we couldn't use the university research grant or fellowship to conduct research abroad. So this past summer, I basically worked on what I had. I have all the primary sources in my computer, and then I read all of them, and then I went through what I have, and then to see what else I would need. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. So I think for undergrad students, the experience is quite different. It's probably less so about dissertation research, writing, but more about how can you get professional experience, right? I think Sabrina, you did an internship this summer, so maybe you can speak about how this internship experience may have also changed compared with what was normally done before. And
right. I feel like everybody's summer is really productive and colorful, but for me, it's more just getting internship and also do more traveling for personal purposes. So this summer, I was originally planning to go back to China to visit my family because I haven't been home for 2 years and still counting. But unfortunately, that's not the case. The international flights were not available. So I had to change the plan. So I moved back to the state of Washington where I did my high school. So that's where I did a lot of the majority of my internship work. And the internship organization, the organization where I interned with, so it was originally in person, but due to the COVID situation, it changed to remotely. Even though I do feel like I learned a lot of knowledge and industries insights through this internship, but definitely I feel like in-person interaction is something that will be really valuable with this internship. So I guess that's majority, because I guess I would speak less about research since as a undergraduate student. So I definitely felt like my plan has been changed, but it all, like what Other has shared earlier, it all worked out at the end. And I'm really thankful for the internship opportunity. And I felt like this is gonna be like a new normal for the future too, with the COVID impact. So I guess we just need to do the best we could under the situation.
Thank you very much. So I think it looks like each of you, despite all the challenges, have had a pretty productive summer, right? I think, so you have been able to pursue most of what you would like to do. So maybe I think another question I want to ask you is just from this experience, have you discovered something, resources, opportunities, that otherwise you may not have known, or, have there some good surprises despite all these issues that you have to deal with? Does anyone have something to offer on this?
I guess I can start. So for me is that I really started to appreciate the power of technology, because in the past I have to really be somewhere physically in order to attend a meeting, but with all the technology incorporated, I was able to really attend a couple things virtually, even though it would, no matter where the event is. It could be in China, it could be in UK, it could be in the US. So I think that's really like a benefit of, it's kind of like a surprise for me, because I wasn't really that tech savvy. I wasn't thinking much about it. So that's really nice to get used to it.
Yeah, that's a good comment. That's kind of like, this also kind of forced to open another world for us, right? I think maybe, some of these we may never, thought that this is something that, we could be exposed to, How about some other panelists, have there been maybe archives or, resources that you have found in the process?
Yeah, I could add to that. So yeah, I agree that the pandemic has closed some doors for us, but has also opened others, especially in terms of providing more resources that otherwise wouldn't be available to us. So for my research project, I use a lot of primary sources from the National Archives in UK, especially the British consular correspondences from Shanghai and Guangzhou. So since the pandemic, the National Archive has basically made all the digitized sources free to the public, to the registered users. So if you register on the website, you can basically download them for free. In a normal time, you need to pay for that. So each volume is like £3 or £3 to £4. So I've been downloading a lot of them. If you use the British National Archive for your research, I would highly recommend you to go, because we don't know how long this will be free and available to the public. Yeah, and then in addition to archival resources, I feel like the scholar community here, especially in the States, they realized what a challenge it is for grad students and undergrad to do research during the pandemic. So they organize all kinds of webinars like this one, which I think is great, to help us to build a community among us and to provide guides or advice on how you can proceed from here. Yep.
Thank you, Fuxin. That's very, very useful. Yeah. Anyone else want to chime in on this? So I think in some way, despite the travel restrictions, so the world seems to have become smaller, right? Because of the internet connection, we have the technology. Yeah. So let me ask you another question. I think as we know that the pandemic continues, and I think and now especially today, we are welcoming our new students into the university, right? So I think, and this new cohort, they will have to start their study in this environment. So I think it'll be very helpful if they could hear from you guys on whether you have any advice, any, kind of what to do, what not to do, so that may help them make the best use of the, the resources, opportunities, the university can offer, kind of to be as productive as you guys have done in the past. Anyone have any thoughts to offer?
I
think I can start.
Sorry.
Oh,
yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah. One advice I can think of is to start as early as possible. So for MA students, they may need a MA project to complete the degree requirements, right? So I noticed that the Michigan-China Study Guide, that web page, contains a lot of useful and valuable sources, databases as well. So once you start your MA program, think of the available sources that here you don't need to travel anywhere abroad, and then work with those sources. So then that's the best way to get started, and then finish your degree within like 1 year or two.
Yeah, I agree with Fuxing's opinion, and I will not add to that I think this is good opportunity to think about your research method again. So, for example, like me, I have most of my research method is research method requires in-person communication, like interviews or like field work and participant observation like this. But during this situation, this might not be I might not possible to do my field work as I planned. So I think this is good way to think about my research method again, and we can think about how we can do interdisciplinary project. Like, for example, I can add more kinds of archival research, or I can add some kind of quantitative data to my work as well, to my dissertation. So maybe you can think about how we can mix with other departments' research method into my project. So yeah, I think this situation is quite give me hardships, but also give me opportunities to think about my research again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So
and also,
mm-hmm.
Just one more small thing is that you guys may know that university offers so many kinds of different softwares, right? So like Zoom or Blue Jeans or all kinds of softwares, they offer free. So I really wanted to say that if you want to download some kind of software, I would highly recommend to check our university website.
Thank you. So any other? I'm just thinking that, for example, like undergrad student, people who want to pursue a professional career, right, rather than academic career. So I think the experience of finding internship is very valuable. And I know that for some of our students in urban planning students, and quite a few of your students, the internship offer, the offer they got before the pandemic were kind of withdrawn. So that forced them to, to change, to adjust their plan. So I wonder, I think Sabrina, I think you are lucky to get this internship support from LRCCS and being able to, work for Michigan, the Michigan China, I'm sorry. So, so you were able to, to finish your internship. So do you have any experience about how to identify the internship opportunity? Did you explore other opportunities?
Right. So for me, actually, I learned about this internship. Actually, I think it's from email, and also there were other people with me, and they were like, "Hey, there's a event coming about possible internship with the Chinese Studies Center." So that's how I kind of just knew this organization and the opportunity. So for me, it wasn't. So the things that I guess I didn't really look for this purposefully, which I'm really thankful that it actually worked out well. So for me, I think a great way to look into the internship opportunities would definitely be the platforms our school use, such as Handshake, and our school always sends out emails about job and career opportunities for students too. So definitely, I will suggest definitely taking initiative and definitely take advantage of that. I think that's really important to keep in mind that you can always reach out to Career Center at the university, where you can get some resume revised work done, and you can practice your interview skills with them too. So I think these are really some like basic things that you can definitely take advantage of, no matter when and no matter what topic it is. I'm sure somebody will always be there, just wanting to get to know you and just be prepared to. Yeah, I think in general, I think definitely take advantage of the school resources, like what others shares. I think our school in the past has Coursera, all these, like, you can access to all these free classes online. I think personally, I wish they continue. I'm not sure if they actually discontinue the usage, but that's definitely something that is really beneficial for me.
Thank you, Sabrina. Twila, do you, Wenjia, okay, please.
Yeah, I would also like to say something about that. So I guess the participants in this panel would mostly be students who are or scholars who are doing Chinese studies, or they're coming from China. So I think I would just offer some like more nuanced suggestions for each of the group, for each group of people. I know like I talked to a couple of students like from China and who have applied for grad school programs in the US, but unfortunately they just cannot come. And so I think a lot of them have chosen to defer until next semester or even to next year. So I would like to address these students or scholars, and I feel like you should, so if you're still enrolling in like online classes, I think you should definitely reach out to, let's say, your department or your professor, or like anyone who's like giving you classes, or your GSI, and to let them know if you have any troubles, because I think people here will be super helpful if you have met like any issues, or you find the way of online teaching or online work online teaching doesn't work very well, or there's some other special concerns like internet connections or something like that. So I think that don't hesitate to talk to your professors and your GSIs, your students, because people here really want to guarantee that you receive a great learning and study experience. And I would also like to say that just like Yuri and Fusheng has just said, so I think you can definitely, if you're specifically to MIR students, I think if you have time, you can talk to our librarians, because we have like, because even though you're not in the US, or you probably just cannot go back to Ann Arbor, you can still schedule a Zoom meeting with them to see, like, because I think they have they have an idea of like how you should conduct or continue with your research or your research interests. And I think possibly even though you're not on campus, they can find you some like online resources that you can always consult. Yeah, and yeah, I think that's it.
Yeah, that's very good suggestions. I think one thing we often, talk to students that I think the beauty about this university is just how many, how much resources available, right? There's so many good programs, so many organizations that can support students' work, but sometimes this can also become overwhelming, right? Maybe there's, just navigating the landscape can also be challenging. But I think, with the switch to online teaching, with the reduced social activities, maybe this has gave us more time to explore, all these other resources. And I do have another follow-up question. I think we have discussed a lot about professional life, academic life. So I want to hear about from you guys on, what you have done in terms of like personal life, what fun activities have you done, to try to, kind of still continue the, building the community, preserve these, people-to-people exchanges, anything that you find very helpful and kind of enjoyable. I think that we also have to maintain very strong, like the, in terms of mental health, in terms of the keep our spirits up. So any thoughts to offer on this?
I can start with the conversation. So personally, I'm really interested in community building and community engagement. So that's something that I have always been interested in. So on campus, I also try to seek out opportunities to be more involved. So there are a couple of student organizations I'm part of. One of them is actually called the Michigan China Forum. So unfortunately, the event pretty much for last year it got to become remote and eventually kind of just didn't as planned as well as we thought it would. So that doesn't. But we are hoping. We have a high hope for this year. But anyway, that's that. And also on campus.
I think Sabrina, your voice has stopped. So. Yeah, so could you repeat what you said? Yeah, so somehow your voice was interrupted. Yeah.
Sorry about that. Can you hear me?
Yeah. No,
okay. Where I actually don't remember where I was talking.
Well, you were talking about the Michigan China Forum, how
okay.
it stopped, and then you wish to continue. Yeah.
Right. And also on campus, I am part of the not organization, but I am the transfer student ambassador. So it's quite similar with what we are doing today. It's kind of just giving become like a virtual panelist to share my insights and my perspectives on the transfer process to welcome new incoming students. So for this year, I'm really thankful that I am able to be part of the community engagement fellow. So even though we haven't really officially met yet, but I'm really excited because it seems like that's something will really serve as like I will really be able to contribute as a role to bridge the community and the school for both sides. So yeah, that's something that I'm really interested in doing. I'm really glad that I was able to do it. So
thank you.
I wanted to echo and applaud Sabrina's comments. So as a psychologist, one of the things that is really obvious through this whole pandemic is the number of different ways that people are coping. And I think it's really important that we recognize our own positive coping skills. And I think we've all had to dig for them and realize that there are some things that we use for coping that are not so positive, and there are other things that are more helpful for us. And one of the things that has come out of decades of research in the positive psychology movement is that, and this is a quote from one of my former colleagues, Chris Peterson, is that other people matter, period. And that the more that we can connect and be involved and be actively involved in each other's lives and create community, and not just sort of experience these things as these two-dimensional screens that we watch like television. This is not ideal circumstances in any way, but I find that at the end of the day, when I'm actually talking to people and I'm hearing them talk back to me and we're having an involved conversation, then I feel actually very good at the end of that day. There are other days where I'm passively participating and I'm in meeting after meeting after meeting, and I'm not really there in a sense. It's kind of more like watching an entire day of television, or just kind of scrolling through news or, you know, social media for the entire day. Those are not things that are fulfilling for us. And so I think that the more we can create community within our students, within the Center for Chinese Studies, and whomever it is that you're interacting with, and to not forget to ask how people are and to let them know also how you are. It's okay to let people know, because we can't see it. We can't see it on our faces. We know when our friends or colleagues are not feeling well, because of how they walk, how they talk, how they look. But we can't see that. And this is just hard and exhausting for everybody. So I think it's really important to remember that and to just give yourself that time to sort of detach on the one hand, but also to deeply connect, not just superficially connect, because that's what keeps us going in our daily lives normally. And I think at this time, it's even more important than ever. So making sure that whatever way you want to connect, even if it's just two people working together at the same time over Zoom or FaceTime, so that you just have like little mini conversations back and forth. It's kind of like being in the same office. I think that's really important. And I'm really glad to see that you guys have found academic ways, and I assume personal ways too. And I really, this is going to be a tough semester for all of us. So don't forget to build and maintain and connect.
Yeah, I would also add to this idea of building, maintaining communities among friends or families. So I will give like two examples. So among in my cohort, a group of us were like really close when we were always here, and then right now they are all in different parts of the world. Some of them are in India, others are in South Africa, and then what we did during the peak of the pandemic is to organize like weekly or bi-weekly like Zoom meetings among us, just to talk out of the feelings we had. And that was really helpful for a while. So like maintaining the communities you used to have, and be around the people that you are comfortable with. That could be really helpful in a time like this. And then the other thing I did was to participate in the history department's digital teaching program, which prepares for online teaching in the fall. So in addition to like talking about our work, like when we organize almost like bi-weekly meetings, we always like chat about life in the past week, or yeah, any progresses, or yeah, anything we thought like would be fun to share with a group of us. So so working on the project, and then having this new community among us, the grad students, was also really I felt like I had some kind of support from this new group. Yeah.
Great, yeah. Anyone else want to share? Any fun activities?
I think it's a good time to learn to cook.
It is, yeah.
Because previously you just go to like restaurants, and now it's time that you started to cook something that you really like. And I also started to, I've just downloaded like Pokemon Go because it's fun because now you can either drive, or you can only either drive or to walk outside or in your neighborhood or something, that you're not allowed to take like, I don't know, but possibly it's not a good idea right now to take public transportation, but it's because if you just spend like the whole day at home, it's kind of distracting. And if you're like, oh, I need to get some sunshine, and then to get some Pokemon balls.
It's suggestions, yeah.
Yeah.
And also, I mean, I agree with Wenjia's saying that it's staying at home is so distracting, and it's really hard to concentrate on readings or other work that I should do. So sometimes I organize a small reading group with my friends, so we can set a small goal. It doesn't have to that big or large, but you can just set a one book or a small book or even novel book that you can read together, and you can meet via online, right? So I think that would be a great motive to work or to read it at your home.
Yeah, that's good. That's great. Yeah. So I think
another thought that I think getting outside and getting sunshine and being in the fresh air and sort of seeing 3 dimensions is really important. And in addition to Pokemon Go, as Lan will know, and some others, you know, when you have meetings, it's not what you would want to do necessarily, but sometimes you just need to put your earplugs in and go for a walk during the meeting so that you can still participate, but that you're seeing something other than a 2-dimensional screen. Because we're social beings, and we're also these beings that, you know, we're part of the natural world, and we need to get out into it. Another thing that I do is I will try and work outside as much as is possible, and even if it means that sometimes I like take file folders and I literally like tape them all around my screen. So that is my cheap version. I was looking at screen reflector, whatever solutions, and they're like $70, $80. And I said, forget that. And I looked at them and I just took 2 manila folders, cut them up and taped them, and it worked really well. But yeah, getting outside, so important. I'm really glad that you guys have been recognizing that too.
Yeah, and you know, kind of balance, you know, the work-life balance, right? Because now, you know, you work at home, and then you have, you know, home responsibilities. You know, there is no boundary. You know, there's no longer boundary. So we have to carve out the boundaries by ourselves, right? In my case, like I have 2 young kids, right? You know, what's the time for my kids, right? What's the time for work? We are home, you know, all the time. You know, so I think that's very important. I think now maybe we can also open to see whether we have any questions, comments from the audience. We have. Maybe Neil or Carol, are we getting any questions or comments from our audience?
I don't see any, but I'd love to hear some positive coping strategies that other people have to offer, because I think that the more tools we all have, I'm very curious to know what some of you have used in the audience. If you're not sure where to put your thoughts and questions, there's a Q&A box down at the bottom of your screen. You should be able to see, and you can type those in there.
So while waiting, I do have another, you know, question maybe our panelists can help address as well. So it is still a very challenging situation, right? As Twila mentioned, so this is the new normal, the new reality we all have to cope with. So are there things like, like, do you have like a wish list, other things, or, you think that maybe the university or maybe the faculty, whether we can better help with you guys, with students, other things that could be further developed, or anything that's missing, or maybe something you wish to continue, very important for you?
Well, definitely the courses if it's possible. So, yeah, that's my take. So.
And the library has become very important, right? I think, especially these days, right? I think.
Oh, I see a suggestion here that I really like. So friends have had social distancing meetings outside, or physically distanced dinners outside to get away from seeing each other only through the computer. And yeah, I've done that too, and even working. So sometimes I've had one of my graduate students come to my backyard and we've sat apart from each other and worked together. We have another comment: avoid watching too much time spent watching the news. It's not mentally healthy. Yeah, I would agree with that, especially right now.
Yeah, that is great. Yeah.
One of the other things that we might be able to take advantage of right now is to make sure that we take breaks between meetings. Mm-hmm. So sitting in your chair all of the time, but just, if you can end a meeting early, 5 minutes early, then stand up, walk around, just, blink your eyes, do whatever you need to do so that you're not sitting in your chair for hours on end either.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, keeping exercise is very, very important. Yeah, because then reduce the physical activities. Yeah.
Is that like applying Michigan time virtually?
Exactly. Or reverse Michigan time now. I don't know if you had, I'm still on old version of Michigan time, which is start 10 minutes after, but instead we should be ending 10 minutes before, and it's 10:51, so.
Anything else?
Thomas Ostrander has another suggestion, which is to watch out for friends who might be suffering, and if you haven't heard from somebody, check in on them. I think that's important too.
Yeah.
And not just texting, but calling, hearing their voice, going for a walk if you can.
I was actually also wondering if CAPS has done some like virtual work these days, because I did not figure that out. But I guess there should be people who might feel like they need more like psychological assistance during like this period of time, and particularly I think because like the fall break or like winter break or even spring break are just like canceled. So I guess students will have to take courses like for unstoppingly from September into December. So I was just wondering if CAPS has done some like virtual work to help other things. I don't think it's really possible for students to directly go to CAPS. I don't know, but I guess it's also possible that like students who are not in Ann Arbor may feel like they need some kind of psychological assistance, but they do not know who they should reach out.
So I just went on to CAP's webpage, and they are doing virtual services. So there's, and it says CAPS COVID-19 support. So you can call And there's also a CAPS after hours number, but certainly you can contact CAPS now as a student at Michigan.
I think we can put this on our website, the links to them. Yeah, I think it'd be easier for students to find. Yeah. With that, I think we can, if there's no further comments or questions, so I think we can wrap up this session. Let's thank our student panelists. I think, it's great. I mean, your comments, your suggestions are very, very helpful. So thank you very much, and good luck with the new school year. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good luck and stay connected.